Hello, everyone. I'm here with Anna today, who is one of the members of the Embodied Goddess Sisterhood program, and she is going to share a little bit about her experience, and I'm going to ask her some questions. We're going to just kind of give you an overview of what the program is and what kind of results and experience you can expect if you decide to join us. So welcome, Anna. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right, so my first question for you is, why did you decide to join the Embodied Goddess Sisterhood program? Like, what was going on in your life at the beginning that you felt like this is a good program for you to join?
Okay. Yeah. So I started working with you with the Inspired Goddess Sisterhood, and that was the 3 months program that I felt like I needed because I was at a point in my life where I knew I wanted growth and I knew I wanted to explore things, and I had like a small vision of what I wanted, like career-wise and continuing my education, but I wasn't really sure, like broad spectrum, really what I wanted, and I was really having trouble like envisioning that for myself. So after the Inspired Goddess Sisterhood, I felt like I was ready to take the next step and really kind of like delve into more of myself. And I felt like the Embodied Goddess Sisterhood was interesting because it gives me these other perspectives. Like I can work with these archetypes and figure out how they fit on me, and like it gives me a little more opportunity to kind of play with stuff and like, do I like this? Do I like this on me? Do I not like this on me? And even if you don't, it's something new for you to explore that I wouldn't have otherwise. Really like that exploration aspect of it.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of this work as well. I'm curious if you could explain what a goddess archetype is, because this is like such a different concept. I don't think most people know what that is, and I didn't know when I started doing the work really what it was. I just kind of knew I was drawn toward it and that I wanted to know. But can you give people who are watching, like ladies who are like, what the heck is a goddess archetype? Can you give them, from your perspective, what you've kind of discovered, how you might define that?
Mm-hmm. I love like the goddess archetype thing. I had listened to another call. I think it was, I don't remember who it was, but it was one of your other like guest calls, and you'll probably remember as soon as I start describing it. But she was describing like the Earth Mother
It was
thing
probably
for women, and like, was it
Allison.
Jay or
Yeah.
Allison? Yeah. And I loved that, and I think that kind of gives like a really good concept of what like a goddess archetype is. It's kind of this like high woman who gives like us, earth women, this like view of what this could be for us, if we choose to like, really listen to ourselves as women and take care of each other as sisters. And I feel like each goddess archetype just gives us this like beautiful, like perfect, crisp, clean picture of woman and like what a woman is, like giving us room to improve and like really kind of give us this like deep sense of self. I think that's what it is. It's just like this really deep, beautiful, like clean picture of like certain aspects of women, for me at least.
I love that. I love that you're seeing it in a different way than I think a lot of us might initially, which is like, it's almost like a role model, like a divine role model
Mm-hmm.
in some way, but that lives within us, and that we can emulate and embody and reflect in our own lives, because that energy and that essence and that capacity and that possibility already lives within us. So we just
Mm-hmm.
have to like awaken it and
Yeah.
reawaken it, right? So can you share a little bit about your experience so far in the program? What have been the transformations, the breakthroughs? What has changed or shifted for you since joining the program and really being able to work with the goddess archetypes, but also the sisterhood of women who are, like-minded, like-hearted?
What I really love is like we just get a really nice view the beginning of each month about what the goddess archetype for that month is. And it's not like it's not overcomplicated at all. Like, so that's what I always like want people. I can like fit on you however you choose to have it fit. Which is really helpful. And I mean, and each goddess has, all these different qualities. And some of them are interesting for me and like work really well, and others I'm like, what does that mean? And but I love that because again, like I said before, it allows me to kind of explore something that I wasn't familiar with, which I think is really, really important with growth, at least for me. Um, because I need a little bit of pushing to get out of my shell, because I technically like I like to live in this like, comfortable space. This is like my little box, and I'm like, this is fine. But I think like for personal growth, it's just so important to like not used to dealing with, or not like you may not be like super comfortable with it, but you're like, if I had some guidance, this could be neat. And that's exactly like what this is. And it's just so nice because like we have you, and then like all these other are like amazing women exploring this with us. So like when I started, I was like, oh, I like have these goals, and like I have a big looming move to Pittsburgh. I'm from the Philadelphia area, so this is like my first big thing. So it's really helped me like explore that area for myself of like what will this mean for me when I move, and how can I take these archetypes and my goals with me to Pittsburgh and keep some of my stress levels down. And that's so important for me because I get overwhelmed quickly.
I love that. So I feel like you, like having watched you through the past few months in the program and in another, the other sisterhood program that we worked together in before, I feel like you've become so much more powerful. So can you share
Yeah.
like what that journey has been for you? Like how you were feeling in the beginning, what was happening, and then like what were the challenges or what was going on, and then now like how are you feeling? I feel like I can definitely see a huge difference, and I feel like you're experiencing that too. But can you share with the ladies who didn't see you or didn't know you before what the difference is for you?
Yeah. 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 So like for reference, like it's the end of June now, and I started working with you in the beginning of December. Archetype program, was that February or March that we started?
Yeah, March.
But yeah, so when I first started, I was working on trying to get into PA schools, and that wasn't working. And then I was like, okay, maybe I'll try nursing schools. So I was basically kind of just like long, I guess you could say. I was like, oh yeah, like I said before, I was like, this is fine. I don't know. Like I graduated college in 2014, and I was like, well, like I really want to be in healthcare. Like that's what I love. I love that. It's my passion. But I was like, so I don't know. And I was just very like, I just wasn't sure of myself. I wasn't sure of anything. I didn't know really like where I was going, or if I like did at the time, because it like my plans weren't what I wanted. Like I had envisioned this thing while I was in school, and I was just like, well, whatever. And then I remember you said something to me very specific, and I was like, well, I don't really like being home, and I don't know. And you said to me like, well, what can you do in this time? And that makes it so that makes this time what you want it to be. And then I was like, I still remember like that specific phrase, because I was like, oh my God, like what am I doing? This is like, this is ridiculous. Why am I acting this way? Um, so then I kind of like that kind of snowballed into this whole effect. So then I got into nursing school, hence my move. And I had talked to the other women in our other goddess circles, and I was like, we are awesome. Like do, and we should be taking this potential of what we have. And that was just kind of like I remember that specific call. It was with like you and Laura. We should be helping each other as women, and we're capable of all this stuff. And I just realized, and it started with the new year too, like with our New Year's themes. And I like really took that to heart. Mine is alignment, my theme word for those of us that don't know. And I just really have been, it's so powerful, because when you realize that stuff is working out for you, like you envision it to be, and you kind of like take this shift in attitude, which is what I needed and what I was guided to, that, which was amazing. It's just really kind of like led me to this place of like, I can be everything that I want to be. I just have to be willing to like work for that and understand that, yeah, sometimes things don't work out the way you intend them to be, but that's okay. And how can you take these little curveballs and change them into what you want? Like you have the power to do that, which I think is so important. Not wear this color lipstick in like 6 months ago. I would not have done it.
Love it.
So now I like, it's this whole thing, like this expression that I have, like but I wouldn't have. so it's been just this kind of like bigger freedom of expression and understanding that like I'm so much more powerful than I thought I was. And it's in everybody. You just have to be able to like and know how to use it. It's so much fun.
I love that. I love having this conversation and like reflecting and celebrating a bit with you today, and sort of
I'm
just
like, even as I'm talking, I'm like, oh my God, this sounds so cool. Like I need to write this down again just to have this reiterated to myself.
yeah, right. It's so awesome. So can you share like what is your favorite part of the program, or what parts do you love? Like what has been impactful for you? Do you love the guest mentors, the sister circle calls, the intention setting calls, the recording of the goddess? Like
Yeah.
what's your favorite?
Well, like obviously it's so much fun seeing throughout this, but that's like pretty clear. It's just really interesting to like see, oh, I came from here and like I developed this, but seeing other women develop too. I think that's so, I don't really see that anymore. And it's like we have our own schedules and we have and you know we talk to our friends, but I think the support that you get in this group is really unique. Women in a way that like we're just not used to anymore. And I think it's because when we're in another one of us is like the 1 week, like, oh yeah, you did it. And we like celebrate that person for who she is and, you know, how she used this archetype for the month comfort zone. And then we conclude it, like, it just all encompasses really well, I think. Very cleanly. It's like, you know, you set your goals for the month, you decide what part of the archetypes you need to work on and how to exemplify those things and bring in, you know, we work on those. It's really nice because we have this like person who really does exemplify that. We just get really deep into inclusive stuff, and I think it's stuff that doesn't get brought up in everyday, because I don't really see how it would. But it's just really interesting. It kind of gets us out of our schedules and allows us to really, really dig deep into stuff that you really wouldn't think of otherwise.
That's so true. I love that. Why do you think it's important? This wasn't a question I was planning to ask you, but I just love that. I feel like you really get it, and I love that. And I remember that conversation we had. That was just such an awesome conversation that you were referring to with me, you, and Laura, and it was awesome. And I just was like filled up so much from that, and I felt like you really understood the mission and why this work is important. So can you share a little bit, like, why is this important work for you and for all women to really do in this lifetime, in this world? How does it change things? Like, why is that an important piece of like really becoming a leader of your life and of the world?
I grew up as a dancer. Like I had danced all my life. So just because dance is a female dominating field hobby, I always kind of like grew up with other girls and women. And we talked about that in dance class in college a lot. And we talked about like how dance is female dominated and, you know, why is that? And we, you know, got into some stuff in dance classes. And then I took a belly dance class, which was so fun. Like I encourage anybody to do that because it's just like so powerful. And my dance teacher mentioned in that class, and the master class teacher spoke about how this is a sacred dance. And when it originally was because around for women to only perform for women, and it was considered so sacred and so feminine that only women were allowed to view it. And it was like a fertility dance, and women would perform it for each other in labor. And I was like, that is amazing. And I thought that was so cool. And I was like, that is so supportive and beautiful. And it's like harnessing everything that is women, and it's just like confined into one thing. Like combines dance, it takes support, it's confident, it's like all these things that I just love. And I think that's like really, really important. I think women are really unique in their expressions, and why don't we use that more? Because I think women just have really innate abilities to take care of people and each other and the earth. And like I'm getting into like all this amazing stuff right now, and I'm like, oh my God. But it's just like, it's just so important. And I've found even just in my circles, my own circles with my girlfriends, like we're able to talk about so much. And obviously I'm not a guy, so like I don't get into like those conversations with men solely because I don't feel comfortable talking to them about that stuff. But like even from what I've heard of other guys, like guys don't talk about like these really deep emotional things. And I think women were able to people and in a way that men can't. And that's not necessarily that like men have their strengths too, but I mean just for me as a woman, it's really important to me to like bring those out instead of having it pushed down by the way the work world usually works. And I think just because women are getting into work more, which is great, I think it's just important to bring those things, those strengths out and not feel like we have to be like men because we don't. And if a woman does, it's fine. That's her prerogative. But I mean, for me, I just prefer to be the super feminine one that I am.
I love that. Yes, speaking my soul. I would love to hear. I feel like you're wearing the colors and like so embodied in the Weaver Dreamer today. But
yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, I was like, interesting.
Like I'm talking to Emily and I was like, oh my God, I'm wearing bright pink and black. Wait a second.
You're being called into your visionary nature today, obviously.
Yeah.
I'd love for you to share which goddess so far have we worked with that you've had like the most interesting or exciting experience with that you want to share, like what actually happened for you that month and what was it about that goddess that you really connected with, or how did it impact you to have this work or to have this tool, I guess, of embodiment of the goddess archetype to really pull on in situations throughout the month that helped you feel more powerful?
Yeah. I think the one that surprised me the most was the wise woman, solely because I didn't expect it. I love the Weaver Dreamer. I love the primal goddess was also really interesting, but that was something that I had kind of explored before with the belly dancing. This woman, she was the I Simplify one, right? I think.
Mm-hmm.
Is this freezing? I can't tell.
I Simplify, I Resonate was her mantra.
Am I frozen?
Maybe you're frozen.
Okay.
Okay. Are we back? Are we good? Okay.
So we got into that. We got into that one and like I don't know. Oh no.
I can still see you and hear you, so you're good. Keep talking.
Hold on. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, maybe I'm just going to cut my video for a second because I don't know if my phone, but it's fine now.
Okay.
Okay, so so the wise woman really surprised me because hers was I Simplify, I Resonate. And I was like, okay, this is something I need right now because I tend to overcomplicate. I overthink things. I second guess sometimes. And I was like, oh, this could be really interesting for me. So for some reason that month, I just really lived that and it felt so good. And I was like, I remember like specifically the one day I was riding my bike and I started to get like, a little stressed out all of a sudden. I was like, oh, I don't know. I have so much going on. And then I just noticed this like bird fly over me and it was like so nice. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And it was like this beautiful moment. And there was just other really nice stuff with the wise woman about like, this return to earth, which I love. That's like my thing. So, it was just a really nice month of growth that I didn't expect. And I think it just goes to show like when you really decide to commit yourself to something and you decide to really take to heart a message that is being given to you, like the beautiful, magical things that can happen. And that's pretty much, I think, encompasses like what this program is for women. Yes.
I love that. Yes. And I think there's an element, right? There's so much magic that comes from this because we're present and tuned in to the symbols and the things that we're asking to receive. We've set an intention. We've kind of like detached from the outcome and expectation of what that might look like for the intention to be fulfilled. And then we just get to see what happens and like be really present to it. And if we're not tuned in and we're not present, we're going to miss all the lessons, which is just such a great mirror. And I love that. I think that's such a blanket statement for our lives, right? Like if we don't slow down enough to be able to see the magic and the beauty that's unfolding in front of us and the lessons, and we're not tuned into that, we're going to miss it. We won't see it. And it's really unfortunate that a lot of us, you know, I was doing that before. And, you know, a lot of us as women, especially, like we're told that we need to be pushing harder, moving faster, doing more all the time. We get overwhelmed, and it's just not in service. Like it's not in service to us as individuals. It doesn't help our lives be better. It doesn't help us show up for other people. It doesn't help us really like heal the world. It doesn't help us further our mission. It doesn't help us do better work to be overwhelmed and tired and not present. So yeah, I love the way you said that. It's really beautiful. I'm curious, what do you feel like you've really learned about yourself, or the way that you were sort of like engaging with or living your life before the program versus now, having been in it for a few months and doing this work?
That's a really good question. And I think like some of it is like what I had explained with the wise woman. Like I just really need to be open to the messages that I am receiving and like understanding, you know, fully taking in what I'm seeing really, instead of just trying to, exactly what you were saying, like keep going and keep going and keep going, which is what I'm used to doing. Like I like to be busy. I'm a busy person. But I tend to look to the future too much. Like, okay, I have this goal. I have to get there. How am I going to get there? Instead of like, that's great. Like I have a goal, like I have goals now, but I am more willing to work through them and really understand my process along the way, as opposed to getting like so antsy about getting there, which is like pretty much how I went through college. Like I was constantly like, you know, looking to this deadline, and like, I have to graduate. I have to get to this point. And like now I'm getting ready to go to school. And like, I'm definitely excited for that and looking towards that. But I'm also, you know, taking the time that I have now to get myself ready and understanding, you know, my stressors along the way, which is another big thing for me. Like learning how to handle my stress is like huge because I am so busy. So I think it's definitely like learning my processes and understanding like what is happening to me in the present and what messages I need to accept and understand and to be willing to receive. Yeah.
If you would recommend this program to other women, who would you recommend it to? Who do you think would love and benefit from the goddess archetype work and sisterhood and all the things that we're doing together?
Yay. So like I've also adopted this like new thing of like, obviously nobody's perfect, and like it's totally okay to be that way, which is like why we're all human. There's an area of life, you know, there is somewhere in your life, you as a person, that can use improvement. Obviously we all get stressed out too, so that's like something that everyone needs help with. But I think like anybody who is looking for like, you know, a major change, they need some help with like envisioning, or just like going through something, you know that you need just that extra support. I think like the support thing is like huge. That's just so wonderful. Who wants to get out, people who are comfortable getting outside of their box, this is great because there's obviously the space for it. And then if you aren't comfortable getting outside of your box, if you're not, then you have the guidance to do it and all the support to help you with it. And it's like the perfect space to do it because it's like non-judgmental, like this totally guided and exploration. So it's like
yes. I'm curious to know, there was something you said and I can't remember exactly what it was. I wanted to share that, and you can share if this has been your experience as well, but my experience with the goddess archetype work and sisterhood is that it actually self-corrects a lot of the problems that we've been not problems, but like challenges that we've been trying to work through in a lot of different ways, and nothing has really worked. Do you find that that's true? Like it self-corrects a lot of things for you that you're not directly necessarily like working on in this program, but that it's kind of has a way that you are shifting at such a deep cellular level with this work that things in your life start to really change in big ways, and you don't really realize how much you have changed or shifted and how much has actually been resolved and healed, and how much you've grown until you really like look back, because there's so much happening every single day with these archetypes that is going on almost like subconsciously beneath the surface that you're not really necessarily aware of, but that it's self-correcting a lot of the pieces of our lives that are out of alignment when we get more deeply connected to who we really are and what's possible for us, and we're committed and devoted to showing up consistently for ourselves and for each other as women, that there's a really big, huge, amazing, world-changing impact that comes from that. And it seems like a small act, but it's really gargantuanly huge. Do you find that that's true in your life? Have you experienced that with this work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely have. Like I never really saw myself like as like I would say like I am somewhat of a leader, just because like I would always be that person in like group projects. It's like, okay guys, like what's our plan here? But like on like a larger scale, or as like an inspirational person, I don't think I ever saw myself that way. And having people, specifically women, which is really interesting to me, that I look so much better, I look amazing, which is like awesome. Like everybody loves to hear that. But like it's like more specific than that. It's like, oh, you've been doing like all this amazing work. Like, how are you doing this? Like, I would really love to try like eating better. I would love to try yoga. I'm like, what? And I think that's like, so that's amazing. And I was like, oh yeah, like let me help you with this. And that was not like what I used to be like. Like I had my friends and everything, but I didn't see myself as like a women's like person. I don't know. And like I said, with like my lip color, like one of the things that I had worked on too, I picked for my light quality for the archetype is freedom of expression. And that was never something that I really had thought about before, but I was like, oh yeah, like I'd like to try this and see how this feels. But I noticed like that little shift along the way too, like that really wasn't a sudden pick. Like I had noticed this kind of like unconscious shift in myself, just with like my growing confidence, which is like wonderful, that I got more curious about like bolder colors and like different like shapes on clothing, because I had just gotten used to a specific thing. But it's like a shift that I didn't expect, which is like super fun, because now I can wear bright pink on my face and I'm like, oh my god, this is just so cute, I love it. I was at home and I was like kind of like bummy, and I was like, yeah, I don't feel right, so I just put on like a tutu because I felt like it, and like walked around the house and I felt so much better. Like that's not how I would have done before, but that's not something that I had expected to hold by the end of 6 months. Like, oh, I want to deal with stuff by putting on tutus, but like that's what you learn, is like different ways that you hadn't thought of to deal with shift, or like when you're stressed out. But like that's what's fun. It's just really things that you find out.
I love that too, because it is, I mean, I always say when I talk about this program, it's really fun. It's not like there's so much happening all the time, but it's not like hard work, you know? It's
Right.
just you showing up and being present, which is what life's about, I think. And what I've learned through doing all of this work and other things too is that I used to push so hard, and I used to be so like goal oriented and all this stuff, and used to try so hard to like make something happen or become something or whatever. And it doesn't need to be that big of a deal. Like you can do it in a way that feels fun. It doesn't have to feel like hard, grueling work all the time to like fix yourself or heal yourself. And there's nothing to fix is the other piece, right? It's like we come at this from a place of complete wholeness and acceptance and love for ourselves and for each other. And so there's not like a self-judgment of, oh, I'm broken and I need to be fixed. And no one would ever speak to you that way in this program. And I think that's another piece that is unfamiliar to us coming into this program, potentially, a lot of women that I've seen, a lot of us have been through counseling or other types of like therapy or whatever to try to really get to the core of something that's been going on with us that we feel like is out of alignment, and we've been maybe diagnosed with something or like told that there's something wrong with us in some way. And I really just don't like, a lot of what I've learned through running this program is that a lot of us have been told that, like I see a lot of women who have been told that something's wrong with them in a lot of ways, and that's not ever really the case. It's like this
Right.
light and shadow imbalance, and we're not looking at the great parts of what that means for us or how we might use that to our advantage or leverage that skill. We're only seeing the shadow side of it, of whatever it is. So I think it's really interesting there too. So, is there anything that you want to add that I didn't ask you, or anything that any final thoughts or anything that came up for you and that you remembered or you wanted to share with ladies who are watching and maybe thinking about joining the program? Final thoughts?
Yeah, I just really love like what you just said, that like understanding that there isn't anything wrong. And that's like been something that I think I've seen it with like all the ladies in the circles. Like we're always like, oh, this thing. But then we all know that we're in this circle and it's like this non-judgmental space for growth. And I really have been using the word growth a lot lately. And because I realize I've used it like several times in this call, but I think that's exactly what this is. It's like, you're not like trying to fix something, you're just growing. And it's like, that's a really, really helpful way to think about things, because like, we are told a lot of times, like, it's a lot of it's the media, unfortunately, like you have to do this, you have to put this on your body, you have to try this, you have to do this thing to make yourself better because you're not good enough. And like, just that it really, really wears on us as women. And it's like, you don't realize it until you've like shifted your thinking to really what we're doing now. And you're like, oh my gosh, like this is horrible. And then you come to this like beautiful non-judgmental space. And I love too that like what you even said, it's not like, and we talked about this in my circle like 2 weeks ago. I think we noticed that we have started to do this instead of I have to do this, I have to go to work now, which is like a wonderful shift in thinking, because it's just like makes it a little more fun. And like it just teaches you, I've just learned a lot of like how to deal with situations and we've started how to put a new spin on things that I hadn't before. And it's really
beautiful. Can you repeat? I know on my end it like skipped and I couldn't hear what you said about the different way that you've approached doing things. Like instead of saying you have to, what have you been saying instead?
Oh, we were saying like I get to do this. Meaning like it just helps it, like it just like you look forward to something more. Like I like before I say, oh, I have to go to the gym, oh, I have to do this. Like I remember that specific thing because I said, oh, I get to go on a bike ride today, I get to go cycling. And they were like, I love that you said that. Like I get to do this today. Yes. So it's cool. Like it's really like just little tiny things like that and then like we celebrate those little things and like it's so much fun.
I love that. I'm curious because someone asked me this the other day. Did you have any hesitations before joining like the first Sisterhood program about being able to be in a space with women in a new, like having never experienced like a Sisterhood program before, or like the way I run sister circles or anything? Were there any hesitations before joining of like, how will I be vulnerable, or how can I be comfortable with all these other women that I don't know?
Yeah, before I first joined specifically, like I was like, oh man, like because I saw your blog, I was looking at that, I saw like I was reading your links to your website, and it was laid out really well, and there was a lot of information, so I was like, this could really help me. And like I wanted to do it, but like I said before, like when I started, like I was pretty insecure about where I was, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to talk about this stuff. But all the women they're all just so great, like every single one of them, and we're all coming, I think part of the thing too, we're all coming from the same place of like, oh, I'm not sure about this and this thing, and I really want to try a little bit more. And it's like just so important to understand that it's this total like clean slated, non-judgmental environment of helping each other, which is beautiful and amazing.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that, because I feel like if I were not doing this work and I hadn't been for a long time and I hadn't had the experiences that I've had with supportive groups of women, and I know that's not the case for most women, that I might have some reservations coming into an experience like this, or maybe some reasons or some fears or doubts or whatever might come up about really like taking the step to grow among other women, because I might think like, oh, well, maybe they have their shit together and I don't, or maybe they're better than me, or whatever crazy thoughts I might have that are so not true, but fear-based, right? That I might hold myself back from that experience in some way. So I love that you shared that. Thank you. All right. Beautiful. Any like final thoughts? I know I asked you that again before, and then I asked you another question. So anything else you want to share, or are you feeling complete?
I feel complete.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Anna. And ladies who are watching, I hope that you've really enjoyed this conversation, and Anna's such a shining light, and I'm so honored to work with her, and I can't wait to like do the rest of the program and invite some new ladies in and see what happens. So there's so much magic here with all of us in the group, and just, as individuals and with the goddess archetypes. And I can't wait to have you experience it, ladies who are watching. So feel free to send me an email at emily@emilycastle.com if you're interested in joining us, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.